What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hit that like button, but more importantly, make sure you hit the comments and let me know what's on your mind so that we can push this video on the algorithm for those of you who do want your real spiritual knowledge without interference from people who know they are not on the same wave as you. So, again, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you for choosing to get your knowledge and awareness here. We are going to be talking about why so many people are scared to venture into places mentally, physically, environmentally that involve them dealing with their own lineage, bloodline curses, and so on and so forth. For some reason, a lot of people hear voodoo or they hear magic, sorcery, different things that they acclaim to be profound and understanding, and they instantly bring up fear mongering, what makes it bad, what makes it witch like, warlocky, whatever it is that they can put their mind and wrap around that makes it make sense into their perception. However, voodoo is not about candles, turbans, and tarot cards. Has nothing to do with it. In fact, it's more so to do with understanding the higher realm of knowledge that language implies. Again, everything is implied. Nothing is permanent. The things that are permanent are rooted in root words that create permanence. So, let's talk about it. Words that are really important to understand the concept of are words that end in ION. It directly affects your ions because, of course, you are made up of nothing more than ions. And again, a lot of people, depending on your race and your lineage, you are made up of either protons, electrons, okay, or you are neutral. And therefore, you are a lot more sensitive. You attract more energy, whether it's negative or positive. And sometimes it's based in your own curiosity. So come on with me as we dive into what makes being divine a wonderful place to be and rest in, and why it's no reason to fear the unknown. The unknown is what's keeping you in fear. So let's go. So, you know how you go to the doctor, and usually they take a little bit of blood from you out of your arm, and they use it to do what they consider to be testing or a normal amount of taking away volume in the blood for those who actually need a little bit of bloodletting. Now, naturally, most people are not really concerned about this unless you have an extreme fear of needles. But on average, people who go to the doctors regularly, even for their regular yearly physical exams, things like that, pap smears, whatever it is that you're going for, a lot of people are used to them taking your blood. Now, one thing people do not talk a lot about is why they always are concerned about your blood type. Now, your blood type tells doctors pretty much how to deal with you, how to treat you, so on and so forth. And something that is often left out that people also have seen for a very long time is something that involves their positive or negative or neutral charge in their blood, which is why they say, oh, you are O positive, you are B negative, you are, okay, they are letting you know your ionic charge. Let's keep it 100. A lot of people need to be trying to be ionic instead of iconic. Because if you are going to go be iconic, the best way to do that is to make sure your ionic bonds are in order, in alignment. Meaning, if you are mostly positive, you should not be hanging with people who are mostly negative. If you are a very neutral person who is indifferent to certain things, certain attitudes, certain circumstances, you need to be with people who understand your indifference and don't look at it as you don't care, you're upset, you don't know how to feel, you're not emotional. A lot of people just do not understand people because they do not understand their charge. And a lot of people are trying to get with people they know are not their charge or a compatible charge. And in doing so, you are messing up everybody else's ionic bonds. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about why root work is important and how people who are low vibrational and fake spiritual tend to use high core information and make it about low vibrational things. So we're not here for that. So we're going to block that and return that negative energy back to whoever's trying to send it, because it is important for you to understand language. And language understanding comes from root work and root words. So according to scientists and people who consider themselves intellectuals, there are the core basic emotions, which are 6 of them. Now, we're going to break down one word in particularly and how the English language is very cursed, and a lot of people do not believe it, do not want to believe it. Even if you show them 24/9, they just do not care. And a lot of these people operate in a negative charge. Okay, their ions absorb negative, release negative, and only understand negative. Anything positive or even neutral bothers them. Okay. So we're going to break down the word emotion. Okay. Not only are we going to break down the word emotion, we're going to talk about how the English language is so cursed and has a way of pretty much flipping everything upside down and making things strictly physical and to the human eye make sense, but never really in a place of spirituality and you're in it. Okay, so we're going to talk about why this is this way and how many people, regardless of how long they've been in America, to understand how crooked people are in America, they still choose to blindly follow what they think is golden knowledge, okay? Something superior, something divine. Meanwhile, they're not able to get divine understandings from a language that was not made to be divine, nor was it given to certain races in those distinct areas for it to make you divine. Only water you down, dumb you down, and make you content with a life that is very, very, very minuscule in comparison to other people who have the simple life in comparison, but much more higher quality of environment as well as mindset. Okay. So when it comes to people who prefer to do affirmations and different things, the first thing they need to understand, even if it's yourself, affirmations are made to do once you understand the root words of what you're saying. Okay. That being said, if you want to be exact, I would recommend that you learn more than one language. Okay, I am a polyglot, meaning I speak multiple languages. I don't care if it's Portuguese, Spanish, Latin, Italian, Japanese. I have always done the work I needed to understand what are you saying to me? Why are you saying this? And being able to connect words to people and their emotion, how they're saying it, the way they're reiterating it, and so on and so forth. So, because we're going to be talking about the word emotions, one thing we have to do is break down the word and separate the meanings. But before we do that, let's talk about the word itself, emotion. Now, for people who consider themselves intellectuals or scientists, even, they consider, okay, the word emotions or categorize human emotions into basic primary emotions, which are, according to them, universal, fast, and innate, and complex emotions, okay, which are blended or culturally learned. Okay, everyone has their way of understanding, receiving, releasing, so on and so forth, and understanding their environment, whether it's physically, spiritually, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, that being said, let's talk about the core basic emotions, what they're said to mean, what they are attached to. And while theories vary, a widely accepted framework defines 6 to 8 basic emotions, but two of those are not really included unless you really think about them. So let's talk about them. Happiness and joy, which is a pleasant state associated with feelings of contentment and satisfaction. Sadness, a response to loss or grief, often characterized by feelings of hopelessness. Fear, a primal survival based reaction that triggers the fight or flight response. Anger, an emotion tied to frustration and hostility that motivates us to defend boundaries. Disgust, a revulsion meant to protect us from harmful or toxic experiences. Surprise, a, a brief reaction to the unexpected that focuses our attention. And the two that are sometimes included but not usually are anticipation, trust. Okay, and these are one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people's affirmations do not go correctly. And sadly, it's because you are using words that end in ION. Okay, and these directly affect your ions, but for the moment. Okay, for the moment that you are in, you need to learn how to speak in futuristic tense, not only futuristic tense, you need to be careful of what you are speaking into existence in your present tense. Again, the present is called the present because it is a gift. So you can't spend all day destroying your gift. If you understand that you are grateful for what you have, even if it's not what you want, okay, a lot of times affirmations are not needed. What they do is compile onto your already emotional state, regardless of what you think that emotion is, happy, sad, whatever it is. So let's continue, okay? Now that we understand what the term emotions actually is supposed to mean, what it applies to, the scientific understanding of how people who say they are intellectual understand it, let's talk about how English does not break down this word to your understanding if you were to separate the word correctly. You would have to use the language that came before English, whether it be Greek, whether it be Latin, whether it be Hebrew. You still would have to understand it differently to get a different understanding or explanation in depth of the word. So we're going to talk about how in English, if you were to say, what is half of the word emo? Okay. We're talking about emotions. What is emo? Okay, which is supposed to be a core basis of this word. Now, it says in the English explanation, emo is a term with a few related meanings, usually referring to someone who is a highly emotional or specific genre, rock music, okay, or a subculture tied to that music. The exact definition depends on the context in which it's being used. So they say. So let's continue what they say. These are the ways that it can be used according to English Americans. Slang is what emo means. Personality or mood. In everyday conversation, it's short for emotional. It is used to describe someone who is introspective, highly sensitive, frequently sad, or tends to openly express deep feelings. Okay, that's what they say. The second one is music genre. Originally short for emotional hardcore or emo core, emo is a subgenre of rock music that emerged from the 1980s punk rock scene. Okay, it is characterized by melodic, often confessional lyrics that deal with heartbreak and personal reflection. Okay, it also says some examples like mainstream bands, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Paramore. Okay, it also says the next way for it to be used is in fashion and subculture. The term also describes a youth subculture that gained widespread popularity in the 2000s. Aesthetically, it is often characterized by specific fashion choices and shared cultural traits. The look of someone they're saying is emo. Dyed black hair, long side swept bangs, tight skinny jeans, band t-shirts, studded belts, and dark eyeliner. Now, I want you to understand how someone took the word emo that is supposed to be, as they say, connected to your emotions and something that means totally different. And when you look up what does emo mean, it has nothing to do with emotions, rather than a look that they have created for that emotion or the emotions themselves. If you ask me, emo really just embodies all the emotions, but they have certain people, white people, as the face of what is supposed to be seen as emo. Okay. And again, it is nothing more, if you ask me, than a subset of people who don't want to claim themselves as gothic. They want to be seen as more relatable and sensitive than people who are gothic, when in reality, they are usually one and the same, regardless if they say it's different. Yeah. In a language where emo makes no sense compared to the root word that ties it to emotion, this is why I say you cannot trust technology to give you honest explanations of anything, because this has nothing to do with emo itself in the word. In fact, if you were to continue to look at what the word emo really means, I typed in emo in Latin to help you get a better definition understanding. In Latin, emo is a primary verb that translate to I buy or I purchase. Okay? It comes from the infinitive emere, okay, which is a word in Latin and belongs to the third conjugation, originally meaning to take. It expanded figuratively to mean acquiring or obtaining something by paying for it. Okay, this is what was used in Latin America. I don't care if it's North America, South America, all of it at one time was still Latin America. Never forget that. Okay, Latin is not a dead language. They just keep trying to do away with it so they can use it for devious things. Okay, the more you know. Now, let's continue. It says key forms and usage, okay, of the word emo in Latin, which is what was used before English, at least for people like myself. Okay, the present tense, I buy, I am buying. How is it pronounced? Ego, emo. Okay, in English, ego would mean what? Okay, there you go. Ego, emo. Okay, now if you put that together, that means I am buying emotions or how I feel. What do you think most people are really doing when they're emotional? I don't care if they're sad. I don't care if they're happy. I don't care if they're angry. I don't care if whatever. What do you think they usually do when they are feeling emotions? They spend. Okay. And how they spend depends on how they feel at the moment. Now, the infinitive means to buy. Imore. Okay. That is what imore means. To buy. They have something called the perfect tense, and it means I bought. Okay, I bought. This would be considered a past tense in English, but here it is considered perfect tense. I bought. But the name for that in Latin would be Emmy. Okay, have you ever heard of the Emmy Awards? Okay, let's go to the Emmys. A lot of times they be using words that you don't know the connection to right in your face because that is how they operate and talk in code, but they also have to tell you certain things. It's up to you to investigate it. Now, the past participle, okay, is bought, having been bought. Okay, emptus. Okay. Now, it says here, if you are trying to translate a specific phrase, like I am shopping, or use the root word of English in emotion, it derives from the Latin word emovere. Okay. Now, originally, the word emotion, if translated to Latin, okay, old correct Latin, the word emotion in Latin would be emovere, and it means to stir up or to displace. Therefore, what they are telling you is the meaning of emotion is not what they're saying is emotion. It means to stir up or displace your ions. Okay. And this is why I think root work is very important. I know it is very important for people who dwell on negative thoughts or energies, or they have a lot of people who are around them speaking over them negative things. I don't care if it's your husband. I don't care if it's your sibling. I don't care if it's your parent, the person you work with. I don't care who it is. If you're going to do root work and affirmations, you need to be looking into the root words of what you're saying. You also need to look up the correct version. For everyone, Latin is not going to be your go-to. A lot of your countries were conquered by the Romans or by Greek. You need to understand what certain words mean in Greek and what they mean in Roman. For those of you who come from other areas of the map, you need to be learning it in Hebrew or the languages your tribes come from and compare it to English so that you are able to use the words that actually apply not just to your right now, but to your future tense as well. That way you are not overloading yourself with different ions and trying to process those. Again, if you're going to process words, if you're going to do root work and shadow work correctly, you have to understand what you're saying, why certain energies go out, they never return to you, or why you are receiving constantly energy you claim you do not want. Well, you have to make sure you are speaking in a way you are not putting things into existence that you don't want. And that literally takes the time for you to just do your research, understand history, understand writing, language, and what came before. If you don't understand the ways of the old, the only thing modern technology and ancient technology will do is trap you in its systems and distract you with your time until you wake up one day and realize you probably don't have none left, or you have very few companions left who can help you do reasonable things with your time. So be careful who you let distract you. Be careful who you allow to educate you, speak over you, pray over you, so on and so forth. It's very important. Everyone does not have the power of releasing good ions. Most people do not. Okay? So let's continue, shall we? Now, when it comes to internal, external, I want you to understand something. Understanding things internally means that you are taking the time to understand your core of energy. Okay? Your core of energy. Now, if you're wanting to understand the environment, you understand externally. Okay? You don't process it with your emotion, you process it with the time and essence around you, meaning you use eons to understand the energy that's outside of you, your environment, whether it's the ground, the sky. You use eons. Okay, what is an eon? Should I explain that for you guys? Or do you already have an understanding? Well, no worries. I will explain it for those of you who take the time and actually want to understand what I'm saying. So, again, we talked about protons, neutrons, electrons, but I'm going to explain them in a different way for you so that they're not confusing or boring you. Okay, I know if you don't understand certain things, it becomes boring, but you have to understand it correctly for you not to see it as boring. So, an eon, also spelled eon with an A, but pronounced aeon, okay, is the largest division of geologic time, generally lasting hundreds of millions to billions of years. Okay? Earth sciences is how it's usually used. The next way is usually mathematics and astronomy. The next way is everyday language. Okay? Most people do not use this word in everyday language. It is not typical unless you are someone who speaks with a lot of scientific terms. Okay? Next, again, when you're speaking outside of yourself externally, you need to make sure you understand the eons around you and what eon you are in or speaking directly to or through. If you do not, you'll be trying to use ancient knowledge to fight modern wars. And guess what? That technology was not made for that. You have to use the technology made for the time period you're in. And because the people who taught you language keep having you speak in past, present, and future tense, you never know when they are going to use past, present, or future tense to confuse your emotions. And again, this is what they pull off to pretty much give you trauma bonds, to give you triggers, and so many other things. They play off of your emotions that they have programmed into you based on what they tell you you should want. Okay, so when they say, oh, you'll have the house, the car, kids, you'll have a man or a woman, you'll have the greatest job ever, the perfect body. They tell you all these things and want you to be happy. But in reality, you can have all of these things and be miserable because the goal is not to transform your external. Your goal is to align and elevate and ascend with your inside as well as your external. So this is what an eon is. And when you are talking outside of yourself, make sure you are using time as essence. Inside of yourself, you are something that is eternal. Okay? For those of you who have not tainted yourself and bound yourself to spirits of eternity where you cannot return freely as energy, you are eternal. Okay? Again, if you don't know what an ion is, let's talk about it. Okay? And why so many of the words in the English language end in ion. Okay? An ion is an atom. Okay, the original atom, not the Adam and Eve. They're trying to change it with letters too. Okay, an ion is an atom or molecule that has an electrical charge because it has gained or lost one or more electrons. Because electrons carry a negative charge, losing electrons creates a positive ion. Who do you think is making you lose electrons so that they can get positive ions? Think about that. Who's distracting the world, trying to get you to look at them, like them, follow them, okay, so on and so forth. Check it out, okay? Who are the main people doing this? Doesn't matter what industry, doesn't matter how they're doing it. This is what they do for a living. Distract you and put ions on you in different ways, usually using technology that has been perverted and perverted by people who programmed it to be that way, okay? So losing electrons creates a positive ion, while gaining electrons creates a negative ion, okay? So when you gain things that do not matter, it absolutely interferes with your spirit. So if you have everything you need and you're up here, I am happy, I am this. After a while, you're going to add on so much with the power of your tongue. Eventually, you're not going to feel any of those things. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel antsy. You're going to feel sporadic. Why? Because you are adding ions and you probably need to release some. For one, so that you can have room to receive. And secondly, so you can make sure you're attaching the right ions. Everything is not just about happy, happy, happy. Everything is not just about anger, anger, anger. Okay, anticipate, anticipate, anticipate. You have to have a healthy balance of what you consider to be emotions. But if you do not operate in emotions the way you're not supposed to be, you're going to understand that what you use as ions, what you affirm in your ions is way more important than any word they have you using for affirmations. You need to go through your vocabulary of words. As you see here, there are 1,892 words that you could be using. And this is just basic vocabulary that you can look up. I'm sure there's many, many more that explain to you words that end in I-O-N. Again, I don't care if it's an explanation. I don't care if it's intuition. I don't care if it's action. I don't care if it's depression. They are still ions, and they are compressing and compounding, putting their force on you ionically. And because you are a electromagnetic being, you receive or you release. And a lot of times how you release, it affects your environment. And most of the time, even if you're alone, okay, it will affect your environment. But if you are around people, it affects you much more differently. We all know this. So you let me know what you think about this. We're going to get into a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about cations. We're going to talk about anions. We're also going to talk about how your root work should have to do with more so your future than your right now. Most people are very ungrateful for their right nows, even if they have everything they need. So if you have everything you need, and you want not, I don't care if it's just a place to stay, a way to get to work, a job, your family still living, the people you love and care about in those families, you have everything you need. Stop being greedy at a time where being greedy brings spirits to you that are going to take away your ions that you need to see clearly. Okay? When you show excess in energy, they are not looking at your energy. They are looking at your external, what you have, your car, your clothes, your jewelry, okay? The way you light up a room, make people look at you. Most people don't care about your ions. They will literally purposely come into your life just to stir up your ions, okay? So when people say emotions, I'm emotional, I'm having a bad day, look at them and think about what they're really going through, okay? Help them through their emotions. Help them express it without receiving their ions. Okay, this is where logic comes in. This is where your explanation should be able to reach high depths without you becoming emotional to do it. Okay, there's a difference between sympathetic and controlling your emotions. When you are divine, you do not operate through emotion, just logic. You save emotion, okay, as they call it, okay, or your release ions for people who are close enough to you to reciprocate. If they cannot reciprocate, you do not need to be expressing certain ions, even if they are specific emotions. You need to learn to be neutral. Okay, recharge yourself by being neutral to things that don't concern you in essence. And of course, a lot of people don't know how to do that. And people like myself are here to help you learn. It will get you further in life, as well as teach you how to be calm. On top of all, it will teach you how to have conflicts with all types of spirits without taking it to the entire extreme level. You'll be able to nip them in the bud, return the energy back to the sender who's trying to send it to you, make them collect their own ions, and move along. Okay, it is that simple. So again, you do not match energy, nor do you have to. It is very dangerous. If you're going to be dealing with other people's energy that you know is not similar to your own, you need to be able to have a sort of power over that energy so that you can tame it if it does not know how to tame itself. And a lot of times that comes with, of course, self-control, high practice, but also understanding words so that you can use the words you need to tame that demon. And every demon has words that tame them instantly, that triggers them instantly, so on and so forth. And in this world, a lot of people may or may not believe it, they have become a full-fledged demon, which is why a lot of times fear, anger, obsession, and so many other things, anticipation, are the main things that they feel. Don't let that be your guiding emotions, okay? Don't let that be your guiding ions. I hope this has been helpful and informational to those of you who enjoy this type of content, but stay tuned. We're gonna deep dive more into these type of topics. And for a lot of you guys, it will be nothing more than your healing. And again, you don't have to follow me forever. All I want to do is help you get in the path of ascension so that you know where you're going at a time where the world is full of chaos and misdirection. That being said, have a wonderful night, afternoon, day, dawn, whatever time it is for you, and make sure you are keeping your healing, your rejuvenation, all of the things that make you exceptional to yourself. Never let people rob you of something they didn't give you. And for those of you who do actually want to help people heal the right way, you are more than welcome to give a mention and repeat certain things out of my video. I do not mind, but please do so out of love and caution, because a lot of people will also steal your content if you're looking to bring in a community that is more spiritual and aligned with yourself. Okay, good luck for those of you who are on your journeys of creating channels, whether you're a small channel, already big channel. Do your thing. It is enough love and knowledge and abundance for us to make amends, to make bonds, and learn how to properly pair our ions. Okay, so I will talk to you guys soon. Y'all know I'm the sister don't miss. I hope this has been a good one for you. Talk soon. Toodles.